Hello, guys. Welcome back to Money Sense with Miss T. My name is Tendo Dlo, and I am your financial coach. And on today's episode, I'm going to take you on a journey, a personal journey. And in that journey, I am going to also attempt to just drop in some lessons, some resources, and some tools to help you navigate what we are about to talk about. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about black tax. Very, very complex, and I don't even mean to come here as a solutionist, but I'm here to just raise your level of awareness, to start the conversation, to start the internal dialogue, to sow the right seed, so that as you navigate your personal black tax terrain, you sort of have tools and resources that you can reach out to that can help you navigate it, because I know it's a tough one. Every time I host either a webinar or a workshop or one-on-one coaching with students and young professionals, black tax is always top of the list. And I just felt like, you know what, let me let you into my personal story and just let you in on what I have done in the past and continue to do to just make sense and navigate this space. All right, let me take you back to my childhood, or what we all know as my background, yeah? So I grew up in a small mining town called Musina in the Limpopo province, South Africa. And yeah, this is where I spent the first 18 years of my life. I was raised by both my parents, who were teachers, and I'm saying were teachers because in 2022, if my memory serves me well, it's been a long time, something tragic happened, something that just felt like, the bottom is literally coming out. Something that changed the course of our life happened, and it was basically my father passing away. And that meant that now my mom had to single-handedly take care of us, right? And by us, I'm referring to myself, my middle sister, and my youngest sister. And fun fact, we are all 6 years apart, so it makes me 12 years older than my youngest sister. And this is where now the deputy parentship comes in, which is a role that I have, let me say, gladly taken on. So as you know, now we're moving from a dual income household to a single income household. Although we didn't necessarily feel the decline in that happening or in that playing out immediately, right? But over time, we started to feel the impact of now living in a single income household. But what I remember about that season is that I saw my mom really, really stepping up, right, in terms of just trying her very best to just maintain the quality of life that we lived before my father passed away. So that meant that, which I commend her for, which I am like thoroughly grateful for to this day, is that she still kept us in the same schools that we were attending before my father passed away. So all three of us went to the same primary school and to the same high school, and I think that just gave us a sense of stability and certainty, which is what we needed at the time, right? And I mean, we still continued to go to the schooling trips as well as the grade trips that were happening at school. So we didn't really feel like we were orphaned or we didn't have a dad in that manner, right? But I just remember very vividly seeing her stepping up, also in terms of taking on additional streams of income after school. I think we all sort of have a view that teachers come back from school at around 2 o'clock. And I just remember from 4 o'clock or from 5 p.m. she would, after cooking and helping us settle or helping us make lunch or whatever the case is, she would get into the car and she would basically sell cosmetic products, so Justine at the time, as well as Tupperware, right? And of course, this did not move us from now being a dual income household, but it did really make a significant difference in the way that we did life. And the one that is still really, really blesses my heart is her deciding to cut her hair. And when I asked her, much later why she decided to cut her hair, she was just like, Ceciwe, I had three daughters who also needed to look the part, and there was just no way that I could afford, four hairstyles every other month. And that's why then she took on, the responsibility or the sacrifice, to just make sure that we were comfortable. And I am so grateful that she was able to do that. And I know for most people, you may be thinking, oh, she's the parent, she has to do it. But where I'm sitting right now, I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful that she was able to put her needs, aside to a certain degree, so that we could continue to lead a life that was more comfortable than her life, right? And so the sacrifice, me seeing her sacrificing, making these sacrifices and, hustling and bustling and just making sure that we were comfortable, just sort of brewed in me this sense of, great awareness that she's making a sacrifice, but also personal vows around, as soon as I start working, I want to do right by this woman. As soon as I start working, I really want to be able to contribute to her life. I want to be a blessing to her. I want to help her out, in terms of, doing the things that would make her happy, right? So at 18, I do well in my matric. I get admitted at Wits University to study an accounting sciences degree. Best time of my life that I spent at Wits. At some point, I took the scenic route, but by the grace of God, we exited via the Great Hall, and then I eventually start working at EY as an articles clerk. So yeah, serving articles basically. And as soon as I started working, I knew that, one of the things or one of my money goals or my financial goals was to contribute back at home, because like I said, I had made a personal vow when I was still living with my mom in Musina, when I was still much younger, that I wanted to really be a blessing to her. So I start working, and the first 4 months, guys, I was so dizzy. I was spending and overspending on the silliest of things, and that was basically food, right? You would find me everywhere where they're selling food. I would be there. And it didn't help that we worked just opposite Nelson Mandela Square, where, going and accessing the places like Tasha's and Doppio Zero was so convenient, right? And at the time, I also recognized and I was very aware that I'm very privileged, because I was at the time living with my grandparents, whom I would describe as people who live a life of abundance. So these are people that are not concerned about, providing for me, myself, my wife, and my two kids. No, they were at another level of, living a life of significance, living a life of contribution, where they can really be a blessing for greater good in society. So I stayed with them. I did not have like big bills per se. So I had a car, I was staying at home, like I said. But the first 4 months, like I said, were so dizzy. I was overspending on food, and I had no business actually buying food, because again, I stayed at home. I didn't even have to cook, right? And I think this is the point that I always make whenever I'm coaching, right? That it's not about how much money you have or how much money you make. Financial success or success when it comes to money is actually rooted in how you go about making it, and most importantly, how you go about multiplying it and managing it. Very important. So eventually I arise and I wake up from my dizziness. This was probably 4 months into that transaction, because I couldn't actually take money back home and be the blessing that I really wanted to become. I do the simple exercise of just taking my bank statement and understanding where my money was going, right? And this is where I realized that, my money goes to Nando's and KFC and Tasha's, right? And it was a significant amount of money. I think it was averaging at about $5,000 on just dining, on just food, right? And this was when now I started doing budgeting, and I decided that, okay, part of this 5,000 Rand is going to go towards, contributing back at home, raising a deposit for an investment property that I wanted to buy, after articles, as well as traveling the world, which is something that I actually could not achieve in the first 4 months because I was always tapping into the Zebra overdraft that they are so kind to give us. So I eventually start doing the right thing. I call my mom. We start having conversations, right? So this is, one of the tools that you can start using for yourself as you navigate this black tax or the family responsibility terrain. I call her and I'm like, okay, I've got a set amount of money that I want to contribute at home, but I would like for you to tell me what it is that you want us to prioritize. And I remember she said, no, let's prioritize couches for now, and then we'll work on a project basis. So we start working with the couch, what do you call it, quotes. Go around, start getting quotes, and then eventually we got the couch that we both liked and wanted, and the price was also fine. But then this is where I had to also then, set expectations, because now I had a budget. Now I knew what I could afford on a monthly basis, right? But to also then say to her, okay, I'm not prepared to go into debt, because I understand how high purchase works, especially when you're buying furniture, right? By the time you finish paying for furniture, you would have literally bought, I'm sure, 3 sets of couches. So I knew that I did not want to go into debt. So I told her that if we are going to make this happen, we're going to have to delay gratification, right? We're going to have to wait it out until we can raise the money up to, I think the couches were about 30,000, if my memory serves me well. So we had to wait, right, as I raised the money. And fortunately, the furniture shop was accepting lay-by. Guys, don't sleep on lay-by. Hey, lay-by is not for poor people. Lay-by is actually for people who are financially literate, who understand that I am actually not going to incur any interest, right? So I did it on lay-by. And if you don't know anything about lay-by, I know most of you kids don't know what lay-by is. It's when you actually contribute towards this item that you want to buy, but the seller keeps it until you make your final installment. So that's what I did. We got our first couch, and then we moved on to the next project, the kitchen, etc., right? And the list is a bit endless, but I don't want to exhaust my point around, understanding what your financial landscape is, understanding the extent to which you can help out, the extent to which you can contribute, the extent to which you can be a blessing, and actually communicating what you are willing to do with the contribution and what you are not willing to do, right? Okay, so the reason I was mapping this scene out for you guys was to just give you insight into how you can actually teach the next person to deal with you when finances are concerned, when money is concerned, right? Setting expectations, communicating what you can do and what you cannot do, right? Which is such an important thing, guys. And I know we're not socialized to be self-aware. We're not socialized to set boundaries. But unfortunately or fortunately, when adulting starts, guys, it's just a requirement. You are just going to have to learn how to, start being self-aware, start removing, the ego, start communicating, start setting boundaries with the people that you love. So this is really, really a skill that you're going to need. It's a skill that you're going to need when you interact in relationships, in love relationships. It's a skill that you're going to have even in the workplace, right? Where bosses are making, ridiculous demands and setting high expectations for you to, for instance, deliver on things that you know very well that you're not gonna know very well that you actually do not have the capacity to deliver on. You need to be able to step up and say, I have capacity constraints to this extent. This is what I can do. This is what I cannot do. So yeah, this is to just say, strengthen that boundary line, strengthen your communication skill, because you're going to need it. You are going to need it to survive as an adult. All right, and then lastly, this is I think this is a lighter one, and this is about my middle sister. So she, as soon as she finished her honors, I remember she couldn't get into articles immediately, so she decided to do her LLM. And as she was doing her LLM, I think she was also working for the University of Pretoria at the time. And this is someone who had, you know, a scholarship. She was getting a stipend from the university. She was getting pocket money from myself, pocket money from my mom. So can you see, this is someone who has like serious multiple streams of income. But for some reason, every other month, for the first few months of her starting her journey as a master's student, she would always call either me or my mom, and she'd always be on some ndoshota, like tusani, like, you know, I don't have enough, please help, you know. And it was recurring to the point where I realized that, you know what, if I do not step in as a big sister, as a deputy parent, it's going to end in tears, right? And this is where the coach in me arose, because I had already obviously invested in my own financial literacy and in my own financial education. And I knew that I did not want her to get into the world of adulting or the world of work and still have this mentality that someone is going to save you, or you're going to get comfortable, you know, with just calling people and saying every other month, you know, gishotile. So yeah, I stepped in and I empowered and equipped her with the right tools. So we sat down, we mapped out her income streams, and she was like, oh, okay, so I actually make a lot of money, hey? And then I was like, okay, now let's map out how we go about spending this money. So she noted everything down, and we actually learned that there was so much room for her to actually start saving for what was coming, right? Because again, when you are in final year, it's so important for you to be alert and aware that there are, you know, onboarding expenses that are coming that you are going to have to fulfill when you start working, like deposits for those apartments, as well as for the cars that you're going to drive, furniture, clothes, you know, the list is endless. So then we started on our savings journey, because I really wanted her to get into the habit of saving money, right? So we opened a unit trust, and we started contributing into that unit trust. And as soon as, you know, she finished with her master's degree and we flew out to Cape Town together, girl was in charge, girl was able to transact. And of course, she couldn't afford everything. I did help out, but I felt proud. I felt like, you know what, this is another way in which, you know, we can all sort of help curb this black tax situation, or this family responsibility situation. Now we are able to have, you know, mature and good conversations about money, great conversations about I don't have, please help me. Because I think at the end of the day, we have all sort of empowered ourselves to basically manage the money that we all sort of have access to. And I think it has helped us, you know, to relate better with one another. And guys, if this is your kind of content, please do not forget to subscribe. And please, guys, let me know in the comment section what your black tax tools and resources that you have used in the past and that you keep using that are working for you. And I know that someone will learn something from you. Let's use this community, or let's use the comment section as a platform, or as a community, to help each other, to empower each other, and to equip each other, so that, guys, we can achieve financial freedom in our lifetime. Don't forget to also like. Thank you so much. See you next time.